Hi everyone. This looks a bit different, doesn't it? Well, it's a bit darker. That's because, unfortunately, I'm unable to make today's session. So this is a pre-recorded session, but quite a detailed one. So I wanted you to be able to pause and play. Now, we'll be keeping an eye on the chat as I'm doing that. So please do ask some questions and I may well be able to chat back in response while you go through this. But this is an important one. And so because it's so detailed, I'm going to ask you to look at it. And there are some links that you can press straight away so that you can get cracking with the code and not have to worry about following everything exactly on the screen. There are three main chunks in this. Each one has a link. So if you go to digital.edu.je, the link's also at the bottom here in this video, in the comment section, in the description below. Like and subscribe, always forget that one. Do add it. But if you go to digital.edu.je and you'll go to the home page, and there is an area which says create your own adventure. There's also a link in the top corner of that menu which just says adventure to take you to that page. When you go there, there are three links: part 1, part 2 and part 3. Each of those will take you to the moment in this video you're about to see which says those things. So the first one will say part 1 and it will flash up. You can click on the part 1 and follow the video. When that's finished, you can either keep going, typing away with that and continue, or you can just click on part 2 so you know you're exactly where I am and everything looks the same exactly. And then follow that through again. You can pause, you can do everything you want, because like I said, it's not a live session, but I will still hang around in the chat. And then part 3, the last part, the challenging part, to see if you can really stretch yourself for that. So click on that link as well if you've not been able to follow and do everything exactly, but you want to be able to play the game as you see in this next video. And lastly, there's a challenge which isn't part of the video you're about to see, but is just something that you could do to take forward. Now, this is well beyond the limits of what you're going to be expected to do for the Thinking as a Coder, but this is great to stretch the people that are following and want to push themselves with Python. So don't think that by not fully understanding today's session that you can't do the Thinking as a Coder. This session is really just a stretch session to push people forward and really show them the limits of what Python is able to do. So click those links, follow along if you want to, or just listen to the explanation and hear the theory of what I'm about to do. Thank you very much. Hi everyone, we're going to look at a create your own adventure game today. We're going to click the link to have a look at this bad version of create your own adventure. This is done just by printing and doing if and else's. So we start off by saying you're trying to find your way through a maze here. You then print the line, there's a pot of gold somewhere. Then we have there's a dangerous traps. And then we create a variable, just something we want to look back on, and we use the equal sign to say the input, which we looked at in the previous video about a guessing game. We're going to give the instruction, do you want to enter the maze, yes or no? And that's where we're looking at here on this side, and it's waiting for my answer. Now, if we say that this variable, or this input start, is a yes, because we asked it for yes or no, or a y, because we just said y/n, then we're going to compare that, which is why we've got two equal signs here, and we've got a little colon to say what we're going to do after that. But if it's yes, we're going to welcome to the maze, we're going to enter the maze, and then we're going to print a new choice awaiting for another input called answer. So the reason why I don't like this is once we start going on this journey and we say yes, once we keep going, we keep having to input a new or indent a new if, because I'm doing something new, going to print some new commands off. Then I'm going to do another one. You can see here we're now too deep here on the ifs. And then we keep going and we keep indenting every single time we have something new to do, and that's just going to get really messy. You're going to have to start counting things. Already as well, when I press no, I have to make sure that I keep it in line with this if here, go all the way to the bottom. And normally I would say else there, because it's if or else. There's only two choices, yes or no. But if I press play for that, it's going to say it doesn't like it because of all these other conditions. It was getting confused. I actually needed to use an else if, and that would have actually helped me out there, as you can see. So it's already getting messy. I'm having to work out what an else is, what an else is. It's not great. So I'm doing my game, and I can keep going with this, and I fall to my death and all this kind of stuff. But this is not a good version of the game. But by all means, test it out. If I say no, welcome. If you're brave enough, press stop and play again. Do you want to go in? Yes. This time, just stop and play that again. Didn't like it, and I click it here. So do the Y. Do you want to do left? Enter, and then it keeps going. I win when I go left, and if I go right, I can't do anything but die here, actually. But this is a bad version of this game. So what I kind of want to look at a little bit more is how would I make this game a bit better? So there's another link. So now you can click on the next link for this, and I'm going to go straight to it. And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about something called functions. So instead of doing all this, what we did before with print, I'm actually going to define things straight away. So here, all of this text where I've got def, and then it goes to def again for define or create. These are blocks of code. So I can then add them at any point. I don't need to go down a weird journey as I did with if and if and if and if over and over again. I'm going to define things. So here I have got my definition of start. We're starting the game. No reason. I'll just do that. And you have the brackets here, an open and a closed bracket. Later on, there are things we may write in here later on, not today, but in other times. But here, we're doing exactly the same as we did before, except when I get to if I press yes, rather than the next stage of the game, I'm saying go to room 1. Now, I haven't created room 1 yet. So I'm going to do that next. You can see here I've done it below, but it means you can plan ahead. You can say, right, I'm going to go to the next room. Otherwise, I'm going to exit the game here. Right, so I've got no other choice, either go into room 1 or exit the game. Here, then I define room 1, and I say print left or right, make your choice. I've got the other input this time. Instead of saying what the start input is, I could just kept that the same or just kept it as answer the entire way. It doesn't really matter. But as long as you say what the answer is, you just need to keep using that there. So now the answer equals this. Print, you can choose your answer, what will happen. And I press this time, I want to do right is the correct answer to move forward to the game. So I say you fall down a trapdoor, enter a new dark room, and then room 2. I'm going to create that next. Here we go. But when you're planning this, that's what you would do. So the else is I'm going to do something called monster death, which I haven't done yet. But at the bottom here, I created something called monster death, which means I can use this over and over again rather than keep writing it in. And so here I just hear a noise, I turn, a monster eats you. So that's going to be a death a lot of the time. But when I was doing this, I could have done room 2. So I've created room 2 now. And what I've done for this one is I've said, right, I'm in room 2 now. And I can go left or right again, make your choice. If the answer's right again, well, maybe actually let's make it left this time rather than keeping it the same each time. And instead of just dying each time here, I've got monster death, because I just wanted to end the game. Well, what happens else? Maybe I could say if I go left, that's the right choice now. So follow along with me on this one. So yours will say this, and just follow along. I'm going to say room 3. Okay, but it says here that room 3 is not defined because I haven't written it yet, which is fine. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to press enter. And you'll see this end in a moment here. And I'm going to call this define room 4. And I keep them together. I don't like the spaces. Open bracket, close bracket, which it does automatically. Then I need the colon, okay? And this time I press enter and it drops to the next line. And you can copy and paste this again if you want. Okay, you can copy and paste the whole thing, in fact. In fact, it may have been easier not to write that, to actually copy this last one here and paste it in there, making sure you definitely change this to room 3. Now that's not having a problem. And instead of going to like room 4 here, I'm going to end the game. And if I go left, which takes me to this one, which is the only way you can win. The end is you see a beautiful grassy path, there's a pot of gold, you win or exit. Okay, and you exit the game. Or it's a monster death again here in room 3. And you could keep going like this each time. You don't always have to have a room or a death as well. Maybe I want to say here, copy. Instead of dying, I can go to room 4. So maybe this is the key room. Room 3 is the key room where you want people to go to win. You can only win if you get to room 3 and you turn left. If you go to room 4 maybe, and I've copy and pasted again, have a go at doing that yourself as well. And this time I can just say, you can go left or right, what it is. And this time I can just do monster death each time. So you're kind of getting to a route here where it doesn't matter what happens in this room, you're going to die whether you go left or right. So I've made a better game. Play it. Press stop and play, check there's no errors in your code, and if there is, just rewind, go back and check you've copy and pasted or you've written everything correctly. And that's why we like copy and paste with these defines, right? I can just highlight the whole define and I can do new options below. So have a go at playing the game, changing the game, and editing it yourself. I think you'll have a bit more interesting fun. And again, just copy and paste these rooms every time you want to create a new one. So here, if you didn't want to die each time, maybe right is the correct answer. Now we can do room, and what we up to now, 5, and it's going to say room 5 isn't created because I'm going to paste it. Oh, need to copy the whole thing. I'm going to copy all of that and paste it in for room 5 now. And maybe you could even do something weird like room 5, you keep going looping around. So here, if you go right, it's like you're turned around. Maybe I can say something like, I've been pretty bad here. Every time I just go, you go into a room, left or right, left or right. Maybe it'd be better to do a description that changes each time you go into the room. And this time, making sure you line stuff up, you enter a dark room. You can go left or right. And what's really happening is if you go into this dark room, you'll keep going round and round and round. If you keep going right, right takes you into maybe a tunnel that keeps coming back into the same room, and you keep going round in a loop. So think about it, plan it out. Maybe you want to get a pen and paper or another program and draw a flow diagram of how this works. So have a go at that, and we'll try and improve this in the next video. So for this one, a bit of an extension, we're going to start adding some extra gameplay and some user experience into this one. So to do this, I'm going to go to the top. So you can choose to click my link or continue with your own, create your own adventure. Hopefully you're creating with your own. And we're going to import 2 things. We're going to import the library, import would be spelled correctly, random, and we're going to import one called time. And this is important because everything was appearing really, really quickly. When I'm playing this, all of that information just came up instantly, and I'm already overwhelmed a little bit with it. So what I'm going to do is I can add in some time differences here. So you are trying to find your way through a maze. There's a pot of gold somewhere. I want a break. I want the person to take some time to ponder that. So I'm going to call the time library by just writing time, and then dot. There are lots of time commands, but one is called sleep, and you can do open and close brackets. And sleep really just means pause. So you want to say how many seconds to pause for. I'm going to pause for 2 seconds. So now when I press stop and play, there's a gap there of 2 seconds, then it comes up. Now you can play around with that. If you want to do 3 seconds, for example, do stop and play. There's a pot of gold somewhere. There we go. Okay, so it's up to you. I'm just going to leave this at 2 seconds, otherwise this video is going to take forever. And there are many dangerous trips and hazards. I'm going to do time. In fact, I'm not even going to do that. I don't like doing it. I'm going to copy and paste it there. Just be careful that everything lines up there. And I'm just start sticking in these sleep timers everywhere else, because you enter the maze ... I want them to pause on the ... right? And just do that. And then when I press stop and play, then we've got this kind of pauses. I like it. Do you want to enter? Yes or no? Yes. Welcome to the maze. You enter the maze. We're getting these pauses, adding a little bit of, you know, drama to the whole thing. It's not the most exciting in the world, but, you know, that's exactly what we're doing. And that's why we brought in the time thing. Now, the other issue that I've got with this is I've got this kind of monster death. Every time I die in the same way. You hear a monster, you turn, a monster eats you. I'm not really that impressed with just having that each time. So what I'm going to do is I want to have lots of different deaths. So wherever you've got that monster death there, get rid of monster death and just call it death. Right, so that's it. And this time we're going to get rid of this here, and we're going to just say deaths equals, because we're going to have loads of different options here, and we're going to have a list. Now, when you have a list, it's a square bracket, and as soon as you open a square bracket like that found next to the enter key, it will close it for you, making it look like a box maybe on this video, but it's not. It's an open square bracket and a closed square bracket. And I'm going to say these commands. I'm going to use speech marks here to say something, and I'm going to say something like just a monster sees and eats you, like that, and that's it. Then after that speech mark, I'm going to press a comma, and I can keep writing and I'll run out of space here. So I'm actually going to press enter to keep them on different lines to make it easier. So because I've got the comma there, then I'm going to say you run out of food and die. You know, I mean, a bit harsh if you only just entered it. And then enter, comma, enter. And you can add as many of these as you like into here. I'm going to say you slip and fall down a ledge. So, to your doom. Something like that. And I can keep pressing comma, enter, comma, enter, comma, enter. But what I kind of want to say is that's the thing that I'm going to call, but at the moment it's just a list. I'm not saying what I'm going to do. So after that square bracket, press enter and say your death, your underscore death. So these are all the deaths, are all the options you can have. Your death equals, and this is where we're going to use the random library, random dot. And one of the things that we can do is a choice from a list. So a random thing there, choice from a list, and this time I'm going to say you want to choose anything from the deaths list, please, and then I'm going to print your death underscore death. So that's what we've got there, your underscore death. That's going to work nicely. But what we've now got is all these variables when I was dying before in my rooms, say monster death, monster death, monster death. You're just going to have to go through and just delete those. That's why I did it in this way, so it would highlight and I didn't have to repeat what I was going to do. You can go through and you can repeat all of those all the way through, and there's no more left. So when I then come up to here and play, not only do I have the pauses here, I'm just going to try and die straight away, so I'm going to go left straight away. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to play. It pauses, pauses, pauses. You enter the maze, left or right, and if I go left, I should die. There you go. What will happen? A monster sees and eats you. If I play that again, just waiting each time to do that, Yes, I want to play the game. So this is where you might want to reduce your sleep times or whatever it is. Left or right, make a choice. Left again. I should get something different, but I may not. So this time I did get something different, but I only had 3 choices. So, you know, I could have maybe died in the same way again, but that's how you do it. Now, if you're testing this game, this can get a bit annoying waiting each time for the sleep times. So maybe at the very beginning, you could do something like long or wait 1 or wait 2 in fact equals 2 and wait 1 equals 1, and instead of having all these 2s 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 1 1s 1s, you could have had wait 2 wait 2. You don't have to do this, but then if I wanted to make this testing faster, every time I do this I could say 0.2 0.1 at the very beginning and then press play, and I'm not waiting very long at all. You saw it whip through that, and when you go to then produce the game or let someone play it, you can just delete that rather than changing all of these numbers for the weights. Now put your own in. At the moment I've only got these ones here, so what I would probably do there is just change that, there we go, and maybe a weight 1 there, and then this time I can stop and play my game. But if I want to not wait all this time, I can just put a 0 or just a 0.2. Not my option there. I'm just going to stop it. Just going to go into there and do 0.2, 0.1, and now when I press play, it's much faster to test it. So this will help you do it. So go through, add different weights, maybe add some other suspense fillers, see what you do as you go through this, and I'll be interested to see what you do. I'll see you on the next video. So let's have a look how you got on. This is what I did. We had our random and our time imports just to test this out. I mean, I'll do it in full time, but if you want to test it out faster, we said we can put those points in, and everything I've done a lot of sleep weights, as we can see here. And let's just see what I've done as I've gone through. We'll test it out, but I've done this kind of ... bit here. So let's press stop and play again. You're about to make your through ways. There's a pot of gold somewhere, and I kind of did this ... to kind of build some suspense. Maybe you could do other things. And this is Dangerous Maze. Do you want to continue? Yes. And I'll just make this a little bit smaller as I do here. So I come in there. So I did the ... each time. You enter the maze. You can go left or right. And if I go left on this one, you slip and fall down the ledge to your doom. There we go. Just move over there. And if I play again, each time I should get different results. ... making them wait. Maybe speed it up, slow down. You can play around with that. Yes, I want to play. Welcome to the maze. ... Now, one of the other things I could have done here is I learned that I must go right now. I've started to put some choices in as well. You take a step, you hear something snap, you fall through the trapdoor, entering a new dark room, and you can go left or right, and we can start doing this. So you're building this story. So when I did that here, when I went through, and you can follow my code by opening the link and just play around with yourself. When I was at the entering the maze, I then said, you take a step, waited, you hear something snap, I waited. Then I go to room 2, and room 2 was you fall down a trapdoor, entering a new dark room. I'm explaining each room as I come into it to give there a bit more satisfaction to this. And then next time, if I go left, it's a death. If I go right, it's room 3. You see a torch. Do you pick it up? Yes or no? I changed the input slightly there. You make your choice. If yes, I go to the next room because I can see something. Else, it's death because I'm too much in the dark. Are you afraid? Do you run? yes, no, make your choice. And I got death, or I've got the end. So if I run, I got death. If I stay stationary, I see a beautiful grassy path. So in this entering the new dark room, let's see if I can just get through to it. To get to room 3, I need to do right here. So I'm going to do right. You see a torch. Do you pick it up? I want to pick it up to go to the next room. I'm cheating here by looking at my code, yeah? Are you afraid? Also, you are afraid. Do you run? And I'm going to say no this time. And there you go. I've got my win, or I've got my death, okay? So you can keep going around with this. You can add extra rooms. You can play around with it, add extra deaths. And just see how you go. Maybe you don't like the ... Maybe you can think of other ways of using emojis to do things. So yeah, have a go and see what you can do with it. But you can play around with my code if you've been finding it difficult to do that, and really try and push the boundaries here about what you can do. Maybe you can add another list, which isn't called deaths, maybe another list of room descriptions or things like that. I want you to really try and push it to make this game your own, or just completely rip it apart and put in new words, new areas, or just start from scratch and have a go yourself. That would be interesting. See how you go. So hopefully that wasn't too daunting. It was an interesting, like I said, pushing us all the way through. So thank you for turning up as always. I'll be back in person next week. I may have a look. We've got a different little area, a little podcasting area. I'll Alaminar to see if I can do a live session there, or I'll continue in this lovely area as well. So see you next week. I'll see you in person. Thanks for turning up as always. Bye for now.